Hello, welcome to a new video on the discussion of the Second Doctor. So the Second Doctor is my fourth favourite incarnation of the Doctor. Now, Patrick Troughton had the hardest job taking after the role of William Hartnell. Now, Troughton did an amazing job carrying the show for another another 3 series. So let's get straight into it. What is my review on the Second Doctor? Now, the Second Doctor is basically where the Doctor becomes less of a grumpy fuddy-duddy and becomes more of a cunning clown. He shows his cleverness in a really way. He does a bit of silliness, but he shows the Doctor's kind of like serious attitude and fantastic. So let's get into it. We have the very first story that the Second Doctor is Power of the Daleks. Now, this story picks up after the 10th planet, and the Second Doctor regenerates into where Hartnell regenerates into Patrick Troughton. Now, I own this on 3 different DVDs. I own the 2 DVD versions from 2016 and 2020, and the 2017 Blu-ray release with 2 versions of the coloured version. Now, I absolutely love the steelbook for the coloured, but I actually love the animation for the 2020 release. We have the Highlands, which is a missing story. Now, this is Troughton's second story from his 25 stories run. I actually do wish I owned the book still, because I actually lent the book to my friend, and he ripped it up ages ago. So this is back when I was in secondary school. Now, I absolutely did love the Highlands from what I've read, and I actually am after the book. So we then have the Underwater Menace. Now, the Underwater Menace is a rubbish DVD release, but it is a good story. I actually don't like it because it's just a soundtrack with pictures, and episodes 2 and 3 exist. I really wish they would have animated them instead of releasing them in this format, but you can't moan what you get, and it is an enjoyable story. Even if you have to sit there and look at pictures moving across and just listening to the soundtrack, it is okay. The Moonbase. Now, the Moonbase is one of my favourite Troughton stories. One of my top 5, I have to say. I'm not telling you what my top 5 stories are, because that is another video for another day. But the Moonbase is a really, really good base undersea story. I love how the Simon invade the Moonbase for the weather control. It's a really, really enjoyable story. A really, really interesting one, and I can't find a fault with that one. The Macra Terror. Now, the Macra Terror was fully animated back in 2019 and released. I have had 2 DVD releases, the DVD release and of course the Blu release, which I've got here. Now, I absolutely do love this story. It's an interesting one, and I can't really say anything more than that though, because although we have had it animated, it is a really, really good, interesting story and a fantastic one. So we then have the Faceless Ones. Now, the Faceless Ones is a good animation story. I haven't seen it. I recommend it, because although it is completely animation, it is a good Troughton story, and I do wish we had it live. On the Lost in Time box episode, we do have the... Where is it? Faceless Ones. Episodes 1 and 3 exist in this format, but we have it animated, and I do prefer the animation and the 2 live action episodes I have seen. So it is a really good story. If you haven't seen the Faceless Ones, I do recommend it. Evil of the Daleks. Now, Evil of the Daleks has been rumoured to be coming out on animation this year, so I'm quite looking forward to that, because I really, really want to watch it, and to have Troughton's second and last story to feature the Daleks since Power of the Daleks, and this is his last 60 story of the Daleks. I absolutely do want to see this one, because it introduces the Emperor Dalek, and it's the last 60 story to feature Skaro, so I'm quite looking forward to that. So I'm using Hunology for this, for the episode count, and I'm using my piece of paper that I'm using for the ranking. Ranking, not the other word. Sorry. Tomb of the Simon. Now, the Tomb of the Simon, I have done a review for this story, and it is a really good historical story. If you haven't seen my review on that one, check it out, since it's set on the adopted planet of Teros, and it's a really, really good, interesting story, and it's the favourite story to feature a cyber controller. The Abominable Snowman. Now, the Abominable Snowman has been rumoured to be coming out in animation, so I'm quite looking forward to sitting down and watching the animation for the Abominable Snowman, because it's the very first story to feature the Great Intelligence and the Robot Yetis, and I'm going to love that story, I really think. The next story is the Ice Warriors, which I got here. Now, The Ice Warriors is a good DVD release. Episodes 2 and 3 have been animated to make the story complete, and really, really good actually animation. I love how it goes like from live action animation and then straight to the live action stuff. It's a really good, interesting story. If you haven't seen The Ice Warriors, I do recommend it. I will be doing a review for The Ice Warriors. The Enemy of the World. Now, as you can tell, I own the normal edition and the special edition. And I absolutely do love this story. It's a really, really good Troughton story. I can't find a fault with this one. I have done a review on this one as well. So if you haven't watched my review on Enemy of the World, I do suggest go and check that out. Enemy of the World. Now, not Enemy of the World. I just talked about that one. Sorry. The Web of Fear. Now, the Web of Fear is a really good Yeti story, especially when they invade London. Now, I absolutely love this story because it's the last classic appearance of the Great Intelligence. It's the very first appearance with Nicholas Courtney as the Lethbridge Stewart. So it's a really, really good actual story. I'm looking forward to seeing the animation for episode 3 in the new release. Now, I have ordered that one. I pre-ordered it on the Blu-ray Steelbook, but I am going to be ordering it on the DVD as well. So, yeah. So after the Web of Fear, we have the Fear from the Deep. Now, the Fear from the Deep is not... It's an okay story. It's good to sit there, listen to it, and watch the animation. Although the animation does have a few faults with it, I do find it. Not many people get through episode 1 of the animation. I have found through some people's YouTube reviews of sort of it. But I actually sat there and watched all 6 parts of this. And I have to say, even though the animation isn't that good as it has been for the Maquita, the Faceless Ones, and Evil, and the Planet, the Power of the Daleks, I actually do like this one because I do wish we had this one in live action, especially when that guy opens its mouth like and the seaweed comes and attacks. It's a really, really enjoyable story. And then of course we have The Wheel in Space. Now, The Wheel in Space is an actual missing story. Now, I did used to have BritBox, so I kind of watched this on BritBox for the soundtrack and the live action pictures, which is an okay, which again I'd have moaned about for the Underwater Menace, but it's not an actual DVD release. If it was released on the DVD like that, I would have an issue with it, but I kind of don't in a way because, yeah, it's missing, but it's a good way to experience a base on just story with that features the Cybermen. Now, I actually do love the Cybermen. They're my second favourite villains. Going into Croutons, the last season, so we have the God Evil, the God Evil, horrible story. The Dominators. I really don't like this story. It's the Quarks are really bad. Really, really bad. Everything in this story is bad. I really can't sit down and watch this episode. Oh my God, man. The Mind Robber is a lot better than the Dominators, but I actually love the whole land of non-fiction where you have where the Doctor mixes up Jamie's face and you got a new actor because Freezer Hines, who plays Jamie, ended up with chickenpox during the filming for this. So we do have another actor playing Jamie McQuimmen, but it's a really interesting role and a good act to follow. The next story is The Invasion. Now, I absolutely love The Invasion. It's a very, very good, interesting story, and I just love it. Someone in London's hiding underneath the sewers. The very first story with Unit, where you see Lethbridge Stewart get promoted to a colonel. It's a really, really interesting story, and it's the very first time we see Unit, so it's a really good one. The Croutons. Now, not many people like the Croutons, but I actually don't mind it, because I actually find it a really interesting story and an absolutely fantastic and iconic episode. Quite enjoyable, and I absolutely love it. The Seeds of Death. Now, I own the Seeds of Death on 2 versions on DVD, if I show you quickly. I own the original DVD release for it, and of course the special edition release. Now, I absolutely do love the Seeds of Death. It's a good Ice Warriors story, especially when the Ice Warriors are after T-Mat. It's really quite enjoyable. You can't find a fault with it. If you haven't seen it, I do suggest buy Revelation, the Visitations 2 box set for it, because it is a really, really good special edition DVD. So, now on to the Space Pirates. Now, I've only seen episode 2 of the Space Pirates. in the Lost in Time box set, and from what I've seen of episode 2, it doesn't look as good as most Troughton stories. I actually think this is going to be the second worst one, because the Dominates is the worst story for Troughton. And of course, after that one, we have the War Games. Now, I love the War Games. We have the War Chief, who is a Time Lord. This is the very first time the Doctor is he tells people that he is a Time Lord. The Time Lords return. You have the Warlords, and you just have a whole bunch of different time zones. You have the American Civil War, World War One, some other Roman War, and some other stuff. And the Doctor's got to run in between the different time zones. It's a really, really interesting story, and the Warlord and the War Chief are two fantastic villains. I absolutely love it. Love it. And then, of course, where the Doctor's put on trial at the end, he shows the Time Lords who he's been fighting against, like the Daleks, the Quarks, Cybermen, Ice Warriors, the Croutons, you know, and Daleks. And it's just so good to see that. And then Troughton goes, all these evils I have fought against, we have done nothing but observed. And then, of course, the Time Lords go, at the course of it, the Time Lords do put the Doctor on trial, and at the end of the trial, they forced him to regenerate into the next Doctor. Now, this isn't the end for Troughton's run as the second Doctor. Thank God. He appears for 3 more episodes as second Doctor before he passes away in 1987. So the very first story we actually see him returning is the 10th anniversary story, which is the 3 Doctors, with him appearing with William Hartnell and John Pertwee. And as you can see, I own the 2 DVD versions, and of course the Blu-ray version of this. Now, Troughton in Blu-ray is an absolutely really, really good thing to watch, because I actually do love Troughton. I really, really do. He then appears in the 5 Doctors in 1983. Clearly, he hasn't left the role, because he comes back and plays the second Doctor straight down to the teeth. I absolutely love it when he goes, "Ah, there I am. I mean, there you are." I absolutely do love Troughton for that one. So, I own the 2 DVD versions for this one as well. And then, of course, we have his last ever appearance in Doctor Who, which is the 2 Doctors. Now, my biggest problem with this is it's an okay story. I do like it for some aspects of it, but I really think that they messed up a little bit on it, where instead of having the 6th Doctor going to rescue his past self, I would have loved to see the 6th Doctor get captured by Death Star and the Centaurans, get taken as prisoner, turned into an androgram, and the 2nd Doctor's got to go and rescue his future incarnation. That's how it should have been. Not 6 going, "Oh, I've got to go and rescue my past self." No, you should really have the past self saving the future version of him. So, that is it really for Troughton's Doctor, what we have got on DVD-wise. And, of course, Blu-ray. Troughton is my 4th favourite Doctor. When I actually talk about each of the Doctors, I will tell you what places they're in. Like, for Hartnell, he's in 8th place. Troughton's in 4th. Troughton is a really good Doctor. He's a really good version of the Doctor. Quite enjoyable. I can't find a fault wrong with it. I absolutely love it. He's got 2 stories I've seen. Well, 2 and a little bit of the Space Pirates, but the Dominates is the worst. So, for ranking-wise, the part of the Daleks is a 10 out of 10. The Underwater Menace is a 5 out of 10. Really enjoyable, but really, really bad as well. The Moonbase 10 out of 10. The Macro Terror is 10 out of 10. The Faceless Ones is 10 out of 10. The Tomb of the Cybermen is 10 out of 10. The Ice Warriors is an 8 out of 10. Enemy of the World is 10 out of 10. The Web of Fear is 10 out of 10, but I'm quite looking forward to seeing the special edition. Fury from the Deep is an 8 out of 10. So, still quite good, but I'm really glad we have actually got it. The Dominators is a 1 out of 10. I really don't like the Dominators. The Mind Robber is a 7 out of 10. The Invasion is 10 out of 10. The Croutons back down to 7 out of 10. The Seas of Death, 10 out of 10. And of course, the War Games is 10 out of 10. That's how I rank each of the stories. Even with the special, like the multi-Doctor stories, I have done a ranking of them. Unfortunately, I can't really tell you what I rank them, because, yeah, okay, Troughton's in them, but they're not really in his era. He's just there, like, to save the day, kind of, or to help his other future selves. So when we get to the next Doctor, like for John Pertwee, for the 3 Doctors, I will tell you how I rank it in his era. Same with Peter Davison for the 5 Doctors and Connie Baker for the 2 Doctors. So thank you for watching this video of me discussing the 2nd Doctor. As you can tell, I absolutely do love him. He is my 4th, as I keep saying, he's my 4th favourite Doctor. He's my favourite story for animation wise has got to be the Macra Terror. For live action wise, I have to say, for live action, it's the Tomb of the Sandman. That's the best one I've ever seen for live action. And I don't say that often because it is a good 4-part story. So thank you for watching this video. Please join me tomorrow where I discuss of the Third Doctor's era and how much I feel of the Third Doctor. Now I own every single DVD release of the Third Doctor and Blu-ray release. So I'm quite looking forward to telling you what I actually personally think of these stories of the Third Doctor. So join me tomorrow and I'll talk about the Third Doctor from John Pertwee. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a good day. Well, a good evening.